So my name is Daniele Elstner, Doc and Film International. Maybe just a word on Doc and Film. It's no, I don't have any PowerPoint. You're lucky. You can just watch, look anywhere where you want. So it's easy. So Doc and Film International is a company that sells films for now over 10. I took it over 10 years now, and it's selling documentaries, feature films, all of them in somehow related to what happens in the world today. Bero, it's not easy to talk after you because I thought I would call it like art house or houses for art, but then I have somehow some sort of underline maybe why we are not so fucked up. Because I actually believe there are things that still can be done. And I'd like to start by telling you a short story. For Christmas, my husband decided to buy one of these home computers with these voices for his parents, who are now in their late 80s. And of course, our children, who are 13 and 15, they officially said, oh, we will explain that to you, how it works, etc., to their grandparents. But actually, they ended up playing around with it, asking tons of questions like, what is the weather today? Or, where are we situated, etc. And when it came to the question, oh, what are the films that are shown in the nearest cinema hereby? Well, the nice voice came up with a whole list of films shown in the cinema, but then immediately said, oh, by the way, the film that most people want to see right now, and that seems is the best one to see, is Star Wars 8. So she suggested that we should buy tickets for Star Wars 8, which obviously we did, but maybe not only for this reason. Since then, I have been thinking in what world my children will live, and it's not so far away. They will not have to question themselves anymore. They will only be speaking to a nice and friendly computer who will find solutions for them and keep them in a mainstream, unadventurous environment, allowing a few to make tons of money and the rest to keep quiet. Apparently, we are not so far from Juvenal's give them bread and games. Considering this kind of future, there's a part in me that gets really nervous, but also quite excited. Not about this future itself, but about the fact that we have to act now, and that actually our daily work might be more important than we think when we look at our financial results only. At least when I look at mine. I'm in the middle of it now. I personally do not want to give in and leave my life and work to a business-orientated machine, telling me which algorithm might be the best one to make money. Culture has always survived, but it can only survive if there are enough of us believing in it and keeping it going on. Artists. Artists are the ones to send out the signals of a changing world and to tell us what our difficulties will be. They are the ones to warn us, and they are the ones to tell us the things that are not going right. Writers, painters, and since a little bit more than 100 years, cinematographers tell us the important stories of the world. They inform us through these stories to reach out wider than any news story. There is no such thing as fake news in artistic forms of expression. We can trust culture. We can trust art. So when you have the chance to sell a film like Fire at Sea, Fuoco a Mare, by Gianfranco Rosi, which I hope you all know about, you see and feel the strength and power of cinema and art. Films like that are made to create awareness, shake us up emotionally, so that we have to take our responsibilities to act. And with the film being shown in more than 50 countries, it does reach out to a wider audience. One of our feature films, Catch the Wind by Gaël Morel, questions the migration-immigration in a different way, when describing a French female worker accepting to work in a factory in Morocco, instead of taking the unemployment money they offer to her in France. The film raises questions as interesting and important to any European citizen than to an US or Asian citizen. And it raises questions about our political and economical balance in this world. Frederick Wiseman's Ex Libris, the New York Public Library, is another example. In the pre-light of the Trump election, Frederick Wiseman visits the public library in New York as one of the last possible expressions of free democracy. In a country where by now, almost every day, this same democracy seems to be slapped in the face by its president himself. Right now, we signed a filming competition in Berlin, Touch Me Not, by Adina Pintili. A lot of things about gender equality and intimacy are being said in this film. It is an important piece of art. And it is no wonder that an artist made this film right at this moment, where in the world something is shifting in terms of gender and sexuality. And I could name many other films in our catalogue that are significant to our world of today and tomorrow. Now, is there a market for these films? An obvious market? Does anyone come to see these films? Is there a future for art house cinema? I think one can answer both, yes and no to every single question. If you look at it only driven by figures and pure business models, the no will prevail. If you look at it in the same artistic way as these films are actually made, you might answer yes. I think it is up to all of us to find ways to keep these films in the market. We are aware that our art house films are struggling. It is our duty to find new houses for art, different houses, wherever they are and wherever they can be found, and to be as creative as our artists are. When I think of how IFFR Live started a few years ago, it was a bunch of passionate people trying to find a different way of showing the films, even during a festival dedicated to art house films as Rotterdam is. After several discussions, maybe some glasses of wine, it came to life. And I still remember my personal emotion, but also the emotion of our director when we saw all these questions coming in from all over Europe at the same time. Mélodie, by Bernard Belfroy, was a film about a young girl selling herself as a surrogate mother. Hot topic, everyone in Europe had to say something. And still hot topic, as we will discover in tonight's IFFR Live film. Since then, IFFR Live made a huge step. It is an established and working scheme of the festival, attracts more than 45 cities in the world, and has proven its viability. Last week, before attending Sundance, I participated at the Art House Convergence in Midway, Utah. It is an annual meeting of American art house exhibitors who are trying to survive against all the big machines they're surrounded by. And unlike the European situation, they have no subsidy system. The exhibitors have to invent their business model on a daily basis again and again. They have to convince the companies and rich people to invest in their cinema, because it is the space where cultural exchange can still take place, where you can watch a film you have never heard of, and you just go because it is your cinema and you like what they show every month. For the first year in 2018, together with Europa Cinema, and I'd like to thank Fatima, who's somewhere here in the room, because it's also great, thanks to her that this all worked out, and Europa International, we are trying to bring European films directly to these inventive exhibitors and to the US audience. If we get our films from Bosnia, from Italy, from France, from Germany, from Poland, to art house cinemas that are not used to screen films from these territories, if this leads to discussions and it helps to open up minds and people in these cities, then it might as well help to get rid of Trump one day. And this I'd like to call finding a house for art. These initiatives do exist because professionals from all kinds of backgrounds come together and talk. They come to life when we get out of our own limited professional universe and confront each other with our different views and possibilities, with our realities. Reality check. And yes, IFFR Live, Tales of Europe, and so many others are made possible thanks to the support of the European Union and Creative Europe. Europe, and of course also all our individual European governments, do still care about cinema as an art. We should not fail this trust. But more than ever, we as professionals have to prove that diversity will make the difference and not concentration. One might argue that with too many films being produced, we are getting lost in our own diversity. But I think we need numbers, and we need great activity to stay alive, to push limits and not to resign. We are not obliged to accept that the big machines dictate our taste, life, and possibilities. We have a responsibility towards the younger generation for not giving in. If we only produce for the scale of the new mass media suppliers, our cultures are going to die out. We shall educate the young generation, as impossible as it might be, I know it very well, so that they will not be only listening to this nice voice from the computer, but they shall have a voice inside them, pushing them to question the computer voice, shut it down, and make a free choice to watch a film, whether it is in a theater, in a festival, through a VOD, through a SVOD service, or somewhere else. But it might be a film coming from a country that these kids can hardly situate on a map. This is what I'd like to call reality check. For us professionals, we cannot deny difficulties. We can address them. There are ways to work around the current situation. And for the future generation, get them back from virtuality to a reality check. Over the next days, in the different panels, we will have time and opportunities to exchange, to talk, to think, and to invent in a freely way. I know a lot of people in this room who are motivated and more than aware of the times we are living in. Together, let's find new solutions, new houses, new homes for films, so that the future generations will find spaces where things are being said differently, but in the most beautiful way possible. Before I end, I'd like to address one personal thing, and I can only do it because of Bera's great opening speech of this festival. I'd like to get European professionals, it's a little bit a different thing, huh? get European professionals to stand together and speak up against any form of sexual harassment in our business. With other European professionals, we are launching an initiative under the label Speak Up, with hotline, guidelines, and more during the Berlinale this year. If anyone has a question, would like more information, please come and speak up to me. It is urgent and it is now. This being said, I'd like to leave you to this great task of reinventing our future business models. There is a lot of work to be done. That's our reality. Let's get it started. Thank you.